So we have two roughly $4,000 guitars, both designed by Tosin Abasi. Right here we have the Kaizen 6, which was a collaboration between Tosin and Ernie Ball Music Man. And over here we have the Abasi Concepts IMI 6 guitar. And they are both, of course, innovative guitars, hence them being part of this series. Now, I already did extended reviews on both of these guitars, and they are both amazing, very, very well-crafted guitars. In terms of quality, they are 100% equal. That being said, I can't keep two $4,000 guitars, and so in this video, I'm going to compare both of these guitars, and at the end, I'm going to tell you why I'm keeping the one that I'm keeping. So we're going to start from the headstocks and work our way down to the bridge and talk about each feature. And to be completely honest, the first thing, and maybe the only thing that I dislike about both guitars, well, that's the tuners. For the Kaizen guitar, we have these Steinberger gearless locking tuners, and they work really, really well. But I found that when I'm tuning them, I have a hard time grabbing each individual tuner because they're fairly close together and I have pretty big, clunky hands. So I really don't love the Steinberger design tuners, although they work perfectly well. Now, the IMI 6 has hip shot locking tuners, which also work perfectly fine. But when I practice guitar first thing in the morning, I come down to the basement and I put on a little bit of lotion because my hands are dry because it's first thing in the morning. And so when my hands are just a little bit slick from the lotion and I try to turn the tuners, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to grab since they are this very modern design. Again, we're being super silly and nitpicky here. It doesn't inhibit my ability to tune the guitar, and you can completely change these tips out if you would like. But at the end of the day, I still prefer these a lot more to the Steinberger tuners, so I guess that's 1 point for the IMI. When it comes to the neck shape, we have two different takes on a thin U design. In my hands, the Kaizen feels slightly thinner and the back feels slightly flatter. And the IMI has a very similar shape, but I feel like the top part is slightly more rounded and the overall thing is a bit more rounded. And I prefer ever so slightly the neck shape on the IMI 6. When it comes to radius, we have a 20-inch radius on the IMI and the fancy infinity radius on the Kaizen. I think both are very, very comfortable, but they both feel very different. I like flat fretboard radii, and again, 20 inches is as flat as you can probably get for most guitars, so I prefer the IMI in that regard. But I will say I am happy to see that the Kaizen has a unique take on the fretboard radius. More details on that on the individual review, obviously. When it comes to the neck design, we have a 5 bolt-on neck with plenty of sculpting for the Kaizen, and then we have a set neck for the IMI. Now, you have amazing upper fret access on both guitars, and they both are supremely comfortable. I highly doubt you would complain with either design. I, for some reason, always prefer a set neck design. If for no other reason, then it just looks super gorgeous to have a set neck. But I know a lot of people actually prefer a bolt-on design because they feel it has a better pick attack and things like that. So again, this is all personal preference, but for me, the set neck on the IMI is just going to be superior. Now, when we come to the front of the guitar and we talk about the body shape, the body design, and the comfort, I play my guitars seated for the majority of the time. And for me, having the IMI in the seated position just like this is one of the most comfortable things I've ever felt in my life. The only thing that compares in terms of comfort to this is my Strandberg guitar. But I prefer this really big cut on the back, and I find sitting amazing. I also find standing with this guitar is equally comfortable, and it has plenty of contouring on the back with this extreme belly cut and on the front with this sculpting. The Kaizen is simply superior in terms of its sculpting on the back of the guitar. When this guitar is against your body, there's nothing else that really feels like it, and it's just a special feeling whenever you have this guitar against you. And the front of the guitar is equally comfortable to the front of this guitar. But if I need the overall better guitar in terms of comfort for me, it would be this one. But here's one thing I can say about the Kaizen that I absolutely find superior to the IMI, at least for me personally, the pickups. I think the Fishman Fluence single coil pickups on this guitar are amazing, In my opinion, they are the best version of any noiseless single coil pickup you can buy. But I do prefer humbucking pickups all the time for every situation. And so having humbucking pickups would make this guitar even better in my opinion, but they are on this guitar. And then on top of that, these humbucking pickups are some of the best that I have tried in recent memory. The bridge pickup is crisp. It's really tight for distorted stuff, but it also sounds really beautiful for clean stuff. And the neck pickup, which is a mini humbucker, is plenty round and fat, so you can play jazz stuff with it. But it does have a really nice, smooth sound when it's overdriven for those like singing solos type thing. So I do prefer the pickups on this guitar, and on top of that, they are not battery powered, they're completely passive. So if I could take the pickups from this guitar and put them in this guitar, I 100% would, but of course we're not going to do that. Now when it comes to the bridge designs, again, both are very, very comfortable and both are extremely high quality. The main difference is that this bridge is flat against the body and it is not routed in the back, and this bridge has routing so you can pull up a bit more. As you may or may not know, I use a floating bridge pretty much all the time, and so I like to have the ability to pull up, and for that reason, I'm going to prefer this one over this one. And also, this is a Goto 510, which is a pretty common design and is not proprietary, whereas this design, this bridge is proprietary to Ernie Ball. Whenever possible, I like to have non-proprietary parts because I have PTSD from owning a Parker Fly. If you're interested in that topic, you can watch the Parker Fly video. I'll link it over here. The control layout on both is very similar. Master volume, master tone. I won't really get into the silliness of comparing the knobs and how they feel. Actually, I will. I prefer the knobs on this guitar, on the Kaizen I should say. They have a little rubber grippy thing on the outside which makes it really smooth to grab, and I just think it feels nice, and they're also recessed into the body, which I like. These are also, on the IMI, recessed into the body ever so slightly, but they have the knurl that you can find on pretty much any guitar. Is that a big deal? Of course not. They both feel totally comfortable. They're both totally fine. In terms of the overall stability of each guitar, having both guitars here for about a month, they're both amazing guitars. They both have an amazing tuning stability. Like I said, these are both $4,000 guitars. So the fretwork, the tuning stability, they're both just supremely crafted, and there's nothing you can say negative about either guitar in that regard. When it comes to availability, the Kaizen is much easier to get. I personally shop with Sweetwater because I appreciate the fact that they list the exact weight of all their guitars, and they have an amazing return policy. So use my Sweetwater link below to help out the channel with no additional cost to you. If you want an IMI, the process is much more difficult. When I considered purchasing this guitar, I first saw an Instagram post that said that you need to be subscribed to the newsletter in order to see when the drop was going to be. The newsletter came the day before, and that told you the exact time that these guitars are going to be released. So I set a timer and was waiting on the website for them to be released. I ordered mine the second it was available, and literally within another 2 minutes and 45 seconds, they were all completely sold out, and I don't know when more will be available. So at least so far in 2023, the Kaizen is available on many different places, and it's much easier to get a hold of. But when it comes down to the final decision about which one I would keep, as you may be able to tell, I prefer the IMI 6. And the main reason I prefer the IMI 6 is for its seated ergonomics. I really enjoy sitting down with this guitar, having it in this position, and being able to play all day long and feeling very, very comfortable while doing so. When it comes to the Kaizen 6, whenever I'm using this in a seated position, this lower belt is difficult for me to maneuver and keep in between my legs in a comfortable way, which for me personally kind of detracts from its overall seated comfort. But again, standing or over your right leg, this guitar is also very comfortable. So that's my decision. For me, it's the IMI 6. This is now actually my favorite guitar, possibly of all time, and it's going to be hard for any guitar to compare to this guitar in terms of its overall comfort. If I was a rich man, I would probably rip the pickups out of here, route this guitar, and put it in here, but that is not going to happen.